All right, I'm gonna work my way backwards with this. Okay, I'm gonna start from where we ended and go backwards to where we began. Where we began. Okay, so the biggest thing that she's saying here at the end is that we have to share our stories with people that have earned the right to hear them. Okay. Yes, I understand that, we're all working towards being more open, being more vulnerable, speaking on the things that's inside of us, but a person has to earn the right to hear them because a person has to be able to support us in that vulnerability moment. So it could easily be a sense of oversharing. And I'm sure y'all have experienced meeting somebody in public or running into a stranger and they told you too much information. So I've tried that, Toya, and it still cuts me off. Instagram is just hear sound and it'll cut it off. So yeah. Mm. But so yes, how many of y'all experienced that? Like running into somebody in public or a stranger or somebody or even a coworker, somebody that you're not really that close to but know, and they just tell you way too much information and you're like, okay, this is an overshare. Like, I didn't ask for this. Like, that is what she's talking about right there. You know what I mean? People have to earn the right to have that share. And here are some questions, okay? Um, Here's some questions that I think is really good for you all to ask yourself about intimate relationships, friendships, relationships that you're, even friendships that you're building, okay? Is there trust? Is there trust? That's the first question. And for those people that y'all have experienced overshare with, is there trust? You don't even know the person well enough to answer that question, right? Is there trust? Okay? Is there mutual empathy? Mutual. That means y'all feel empathy for each other, right? It's not just one way. It's for each other. Is there reciprocal sharing, right? Are both people willing to share? Are both people willing to show up and be who they are? Are both people willing to be vulnerable? Are both people willing to share those parts of themselves? Hey. um yes, I know as I'm getting older I'm starting to look more and more like my mom. Okay, so here's the next question. Can we ask for what we need? Can you ask for what you need? And this is, these are talking about people in relationships that earn the right to hear your vulnerability stories, that earn the right to hear the most sacred parts of you, that have earned the right to have that level of connection with you, okay? Can you ask for what you need? And I'm not talking about those of you that have a hang up with asking for help, those of you that have a hard time asking for what you need. But can you truly ask this person for what you need, and can they ask you the same? These are very critical questions. You know what I mean? I suggest that you all highlight these questions, write these questions down. I think it works very well for vulnerability and connectivity, but I think it works very well when starting new relationships, whether it's friendships or whether if it's an intimate relationship. These are things that you should be asking yourself. If you can't answer yes to these questions, then you need to reevaluate those close relationships to you, okay? So you have to be able to really be able to trust the person. It has to be mutual empathy. There has to be a reciprocal of sharing. You have to be able to ask for what you need. And like I said, when asking for what you need is not that, it's not the pride. I'm not talking about for those of you that are struggling with pride, struggling to ask for help and stuff like that. I'm talking about, will this person genuinely take in what you say when you say, hey, this is what I need right now? If you was to go to a person and say, hey, I need a break, or I need to rest, or whatever your need is, and they can't support you in that, or they don't understand that, then you really need to be reevaluating that relationship, okay? So to have these things here is the basis of connectivity, is the basis of you being able to be vulnerable. As you're vulnerable, then you're able to connect, right? I love the analogy that she gave about the string of twinkling lights, like Christmas lights. Each light bulb individually isn't much, but together, with them being connected together, they make something magical happen, right? So each one of those little bulbs are those moments that you have with a person to connect with them, a moment that you have to have that moment of mutual empathy, the moments of mutual vulnerability where you share a part of yourself with the other person, and the string just gets longer. And as the bulbs light, as they grow, as they become more of abundance, it does something magical. You have a connection that is magical, right? So I'm going backwards. I didn't have my pencil today, so I'm not able to jump to where I want to jump to. Okay, here, this part right here. When she researched the participants who survive trauma and living wholehearted lives, yes, like I need a hug. That is good, Toya. Like for you to be able to say that. And okay, for calling me. The research participants who survived trauma are living wholehearted lives, spoke passionately about the need to. These needs were very powerful. Acknowledge the problem, okay? You should be able to acknowledge what the problem is, right? And this is people that have gone through a traumatic experience. This is people that have gone through just some challenging things in life, okay? We all have had something that was challenging. The level of trauma, it varies from person to person, but we have to acknowledge that there's a problem, right? We have to acknowledge that something was traumatic. We have to acknowledge that it affected us. And then the next thing is seek professional help or support. Yes, you can ask your friends and family for help and stuff like that, but professional help. Professional help. Okay, work through the accompanying shame and secrecy. A lot of times we go through trauma and we go through things and we feel ashamed and we want to keep it a secret. You know what I mean? Women go through abortions alone, abusive relationships. You know, men have been molested as little boys, and there's just all kinds of things that go on, and you go through it in secrecy because of the shame. You feel ashamed. You know, women, little girls have been molested. Little boys have been molested. You've done something that you're not proud of, but it was a traumatic experience, and you have so much shame you don't want to talk to anybody about it. Well, you have to acknowledge that it's a problem. It's a problem because it's affecting you. Seek professional help and work through the shame and secrecy. If you remember, in the previous chapter, she said that there's research done that if you write for 15 to 20 minutes a day about a traumatic experience, it begins to help with the healing process. So even if you don't want to talk about it out loud, even if you are still working with talking to a professional about it, write about it, okay? And then the fourth thing, and approach the reintegration of vulnerability as a daily practice rather than a checklist item. Now, rather than just saying, okay, I was vulnerable, check. This allowed me to be vulnerable, check. And that's very easy for those of us that are productive. I know that I've given that approach to my self-help, to my growth at a point in time. It was more like, okay, here's a checklist, but in my present, is it authentic? Am I truly engaged in it? Is it a daily practice? Is it something I incorporate in who I am? Or am I just looking at it as a checklist? Like, okay, I did it, check. Let me hurry up and get it done, check. That's kind of like the example that I give is about the journey more than it's about the destination. Experience the journey, take it in, don't rush it. Experience the journey. You will get to where you're going. That's guaranteed. As long as you keep going, you're going to get there. That's guaranteed. If you're in a car driving, and as long as you keep going little by little, doesn't matter how fast or how slow you do it, as long as you keep going, you're going to get there at some point. It's going to happen. As long as you continue to move forward, right? So allow it to be a daily practice. So when you're aware, when you're in a moment and you are aware that, okay, here's a vulnerability moment. Here's a moment where I should be vulnerable. This is a moment where I need to be vulnerable in a relationship that I'm in. You know what I mean? I'm having a moment. Instead of me shutting down, let me talk. Let me talk about what it is that is going on with me. Allow me to connect to the person. Put your socks on. So, like she said, this is what she has gained for people that live wholehearted lives, okay? Wholehearted lives, specifically those that went from traumatic experience to a life of heartedness. Now, I'm going to go back to the beginning where she describes what a wholehearted living is, okay? A person that lives a wholehearted life cultivates authenticity. They let go of what people think, all right? Cultivate self-compassion, letting go of perfectionism. Cultivate a resilient spirit, letting go of numbing and powerlessness. Cultivate gratitude and joy, letting go of scarcity and fear of the dark. Cultivate intuition and trusting faith, letting go of the need for certainty. Cultivating creativity, letting go of comparison. Cultivating play and rest, letting go of exhaustion as a status symbol and productivity as self-worth. Cultivating calm and stillness, letting go of anxiety as a lifestyle. Cultivating meaningful work, letting go of self-doubt and supposed to. Cultivating laughter, song, and dance. Letting go of being cool and always in control. Those are the things that people that live wholehearted lives incorporate and embrace, okay? Who cares what anybody thinks? What? I am perfect exactly where I am. What is perfectionism? I'm not going to numb and be powerless. I'm going to be resilient. I'm going to be present with where I'm feeling and where I'm at in the moment, and I'm going to work through it. I'm not going to be live in a mind of lack or scarcity, or have fear of darkness, or have fear of the lower parts of myself. You know, I'm going to let go of the need of certainty and know that God is always making sure everything is working out for my higher good. Letting go of comparison. I'm not like anybody else. I don't need to compare myself to anybody else at all. I'm just who I am. Letting go of exhaustion as a status symbol. Letting go of exhaustion as a status symbol and productivity as a badge of self-worth, okay? Letting go of anxiety as a lifestyle. Letting go of self-doubt and I'm supposed to. Who came up with the I'm supposed to? Letting go of being cool and always in control, right? These are the things that people that live wholehearted lives experience. This is what they allow to come into their life. They live their life to the fullest, okay? They cultivate their authenticity. They're authentic. They're like nobody else, right? Okay, they have compassion for themselves, knowing that they're doing the very best that they can. And if there's an opportunity for them to learn something, then they learn. They learn from it, and you still have compassion for yourself. You don't have negative self-talk. You don't beat yourself up. You don't call yourself negative names, okay? Have a resilient spirit. Resilient doesn't mean that you numb what you feel, but you honor what you feel. You honor where you are. You honor your experience, and you use your tools. You use your resources to work through it. That's how you become resilient. You don't become resilient through numbing and suppressing, okay? Cultivating gratitude and joy. There's so much to be grateful for. There's so much things to be joyful for. You can always focus on the negativity. You can look at the cup half empty. You can look at it half full. I'm so thankful and grateful the cup is half full. I'm not completely empty. That is the gratitude and joy that you cultivate. Cultivate intuition and trust and faith, okay? I have an intuition. I follow my intuition. I trust the process. I have faith in God. I have faith that things are always working out for me, right? Cultivating creativity. Creativity is a great way to get into who you are, okay? That is your creative force, your creative energy. That can be anything. Anything, right, is your creativity. Cultivate play and rest. You deserve play and rest, okay? You don't have to work all the time. Cultivate calm and stillness. Being calm and still. You don't have to be worked up all the time. Cultivating meaningful work. Do something you're passionate about, whether it's volunteering or whether it's your full-time job. Make sure you are doing something that you're passionate about, that you're putting your love and passion into something. Cultivating laughter, song, and dance. Because it feels good. It's a good vibration, right? So she's talking about the 4 things that people did to go from being in a life of trauma, or being in a life where they was victim, being in a life where they numbed parts of themselves, into that wholehearted life that I just explained. Acknowledge the problem, seek professional help and or support, work through the accompanying shame and secrecy, and approach the reintegration of vulnerability as a daily practice. It's a daily practice, okay? Rather than the checklist. Rather than, okay, I did it. I got it done. I did it. Everything's not a checklist. Be engaged with it. Be engaged with the process. Engage yourself in the process. You know, it's no different than how you spend time with those you love. Instead of saying, okay, I spend time with such and such today, engage in the time. It's about being present. It's about being there. Okay, engage in using vulnerability as a daily practice. Engage in it daily. And it may just be writing. It may start from writing. It may be talking to yourself, you know, and then expand into those intimate relationships around you where you are able to talk about things that are vulnerable. We are able to have the conversations with those that have earned it, right? Those that have earned it, earn the right, right? Earn the right. So I think that that's definitely some really good points that Brene Brown brought up here. And I think that's something we should marinate on. I really want y'all to go back to those questions, like I said. Ask yourself these questions about your closest relationship. Is there trust? Is there mutual empathy? Is there reciprocal sharing? Can we ask for what we need? These are critical connection questions, okay? If you can't answer yes, then you aren't going to have a true connection with these people. What leads to connection with people is vulnerability. Vulnerability is showing up as you are, letting yourself be seen, not hiding parts of yourself, not putting on the mask, not trying to suppress a part of yourself, not trying to not let somebody see a part of yourself. Now, when you go into a workplace or you're out in public, you have to act accordingly. But I'm talking about those closest to you, those that have earned the right. Your intimate relationships, your friendships, you know, your sisterships, your sisterhoodships, your brotherhoodships, those relationships that are close to you should be able to answer yes to these questions. Is there trust? Yes. Is there mutual empathy? Yes. Is there reciprocal sharing? Yes. Can we ask for what we need for? Yes. That is crucial, okay? That is very crucial. You should be able to say yes to all those questions. So you might need to sit down, reevaluate your current relationships and be able to answer these questions. You also may need to evaluate some of the new relationships that are coming into your life, because some of you have had some relationships die and you have some new ones blooming because you've been doing some work. You've been doing some shifting within yourself, right? But those are very, very important for connection. If you're not connecting, if you're not allowing yourself to be vulnerable and show up as you are, vulnerability is showing up as you are, not hiding a part of yourself, not feeling ashamed of a part of yourself, not feeling like a part of you needs to be fixed or it's a flaw that you need to hide it. No, you should be able to be who you are, exactly who you are in the relationships with those people closest to you. Period, point blank. Good, bad, and indifferent. Because the thing is that we all have things that we want to develop and grow in, right? We all have some things that we experience shame around. As Brene Brown said previously, if you can't admit that you experience shame, then you're a sociopath. Either you admit that you experience shame or you admit that you're a sociopath. We all have feelings as human. We all have something that we have a hang up and shame around. But as we become more vulnerable, as we connect with those closest to us, we're able to push through the shame. Shame does not have control over us. That's the thing. Shame has its power in secrecy. The more you talk about the things that you are ashamed of, the less power shame has over your life. But when you are quiet, when you have secrecy, then shame controls you. That's why one of those 4 things listed talked about working through the accompanying shame and secrecy, okay? Shame has power when you don't talk. You give it all the power in the world, okay? All the power in the world. Don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. That's why you take your friendships so serious. They should be. All your relationships, close relationships, should be serious. You showed up to your reading looking listen, I showed up to a couple of those readings looking crazy too. So, don't allow secrecy, don't allow shame to control your life through secrecy. Don't let it take over your life. You'll start making decisions based off shame. You'll start doing things you don't want to do that. You want to become shame resilient, right? And the more vulnerable you are with those that have earned your vulnerability, the more connection you have to the person. And I know y'all have experienced this. Tell me if you experienced this. Something that was shameful, something that came out to somebody close to you, right? And instead of them bashing you or shaming you in that vulnerable moment, they actually was like, hey, I can relate, and supported you through that moment, and even loved you afterwards, right? And you felt a different bond to that person. You felt a different bond to that person. That's why you see in very long-term relationships, particularly in marriages, the bond gets stronger and stronger because they go through those things where they have to be vulnerable. They show up as they are, and their spouse and the other person loves them regardless. That is true connection. That is true connection, right? That is true connection. That is a bond that you can't break, really. The stronger it gets, each time that moment happens, that's like the example that Brene Brown gave of the twinkling lights on the string. Each one of those moments is a light. And as the string gets longer, as the lights increase, it looks magical. It illuminates the room in such a magical way. Think about the string of lights when it's on a Christmas tree. It looks so beautiful. There's something magical about it. Each one of those bowls represent a moment where you showed up as you are, or the other person in the relationship shows up as they are, and you make this beautiful string of connection, right? Beautiful string. It happened to you yesterday, Tiara. That's why you have 3 children back to back. What? You used to be ashamed of your medical condition. Wow. Just the things that you was honest about one of your shames this weekend with a new friend. Okay. So y'all have been doing the work. That's what she means when she lists as a daily practice, right? Using this as a daily practice. As a daily practice. Brittany been coming with the jokes since yesterday. But that's how you add it to your life as a daily practice. That's how it becomes who you are. That's how it's something that is a part of just who you are. It becomes now a characteristic. You are now shame resilient. It's as a characteristic, right? As a characteristic. Now I want y'all to keep in mind there's a thin line between somebody doesn't earn the right to share vulnerability versus how I'm so vulnerable, I'm so scared to be vulnerable. Don't let that thin line fool you, okay? Don't let it fool you. Allow yourself to just show up and be seen as you are. Allow yourself to show up, but don't overshare, as she mentions. I don't think overshare is something that anybody here has an issue with. Okay. You may have experienced it from other people, but understand what that is. It felt good to be vulnerable. I almost tried to hold it in like I used to in the past. That's good. The thing is you became aware and you made a different choice in the moment. So it's a good feeling, right? It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling to just do differently and then allow somebody to show up. And then you get to change that narrative. You know, some of y'all used to have that narrative that nobody's there for me or nobody supports me. Well, do you allow people to do it? Are you showing up and being seen? Are you allowing yourself to be seen and saying, hey, I'm struggling right now? Or are you masking it and showing that you have everything under control? Everything is cool and under control. That was the 10th thing on that list of wholehearted living. Is releasing, being cool and in control. You know, it feels good to let go. You know what I'm saying? It feels good to break those old beliefs, those old stories, those old things that don't serve us anymore. Allow yourself to show up and be seen. Allow yourself to have supportive relationships. If you haven't allowed yourself to show up and be seen and be vulnerable in relationships, and then allow yourself to see if these people are worthy of it, then you need to give yourself that chance, and you need to evaluate those friendships and those relationships around you. And if they're not supportive of you showing up and being you exactly to where you are, they're no longer good for you. Oh, you allow somebody to hold space for you. That's good, Tiara. Look at you. Look at all this good stuff. Growing, growing, growing. And that's the key thing. I love the way you put it. I allow. A lot of times we have a belief that nobody shows up for us, but we never allowed them to, right? You allowed it to happen. You allow yourself to be where you were in the moment. You practiced. Shame, resilience. You practice it. You practice it. It's okay. Crying is a good release. You release many, many toxics when tears come out. So, all is well, all is good. I'm so glad to hear that. I don't know why I can't find this list of wholehearted living. But, yes. I hope I was able to take something away from this today. We're more than halfway through the book. This is how much we've read so far. This is how much to go. So it looks like about half, but no, we've read more than half of the book. I know that it's changed my life immensely so far. So far, it's changed my life immensely. I'm very thankful for Brene Brown living in her passion. I'm very thankful for her doing the research. I'm just very thankful and grateful for her, and I'm thankful and grateful that I found this book. Now, I found this book about a year ago. I think it was about a year ago, maybe December, January. And I literally Googled how to be vulnerable. And that's how I found this book. The book is called Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. Let me put it here. I put in Google how to be vulnerable because I wanted to know. I didn't know. How? I'm like, how am I supposed to be vulnerable? How does vulnerability work? So I put it in Google, and that's how I found her. So don't be surprised what you can find in Google. If you struggling, having a moment to yourself, go type it in Google and see what comes up. You may be able to find some really good information. Like I did, I found this book. I've been able to share it with you all. We read this book every Monday. Okay, every Monday we read Daring Greatly. We are in chapter 4, finishing it up chapter 4. So, hello. So on Mondays we read Daring Greatly. Tuesdays is prayer. So go to KenyattaOffset.com and submit your prayer requests. Tuesdays at 11 a.m. We do prayer every Tuesday. We've been doing prayer since March 24th is when we started. That's how this all started. That was the origin of this. Is by phone we got together and we started praying when COVID happened and everything started shutting down. So on Tuesdays we pray. We were praying every day, but it was becoming a bit of draining for me. So I adjusted the schedule. So on Tuesdays we pray. I accept all prayer requests for yourself, your mama, your sister, your cousin, your daddy, your uncle, whoever, your sister, brother, grandma. Just put the prayer requests in at KenyattaOffset.com. When you go to KenyattaOffset.com, you'll see what you need to fill out. Submit your prayer request before we get on live tomorrow, and I will pray for you or whoever you submit a request for. Also, I have spiritual baths live on my website now. If you also go to KenyattaOffset.com and you click on the menu, you can go to the link that says spiritual baths, or you can click the link in my bio and click spiritual baths. If you are interested in spiritual baths, they're already pre-made, prayed for, charged, and everything. Yes, it's been 9 months this month. You all right, Sybil? That's a whole pregnancy. A whole pregnancy. So we've been doing a thing. By the way, for all of you that do purchase spiritual bath this month, I will be putting you in a drawing to win a Destiny card reading from me. So that could be a Destiny card reading for your yearly spread, or a Destiny card reading for your connection. So a love relationship. Okay, it can be an intimate person that you're with, somebody you're dating, or if you have a business partner, or whoever you want me to do the destiny card reading, relationship reading for you and another person. So yes. I used to think vulnerable was a sign of weakness. Now I realize it's a form of freedom and courage. Yes, most people do think that, Toya. And she mentioned that in the beginning of the book, that a lot of people think that vulnerability equals weakness, when it's far from that. It takes courage to be vulnerable. It takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable. You stand in front of the camera, baby. Yes, we are about to all give. We all about to give birth. You are right, Sybil. So it does take a lot of courage, okay? So, like I said, if you purchase a spiritual bath this month, I will put you in a drawing to win a free Destiny card reading from me. And for those of you that cannot get a Destiny card reading that are born on December 31st, I will give you something else free. So go ahead and make sure you purchase that. Go ahead and submit your prayer requests. And yeah, we're going to come together again in the morning and pray. Yes. Like we do every Tuesday, come together, pray, and commune. So I appreciate all of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I am putting my videos on YouTube. So if you want to go back and hear everything, go to my YouTube channel. My live from yesterday's on there. I'm gonna start putting them on there the day of that I do it, so I can stay up to date, with it. But for some of my old ones, I'm gonna start putting up there slowly but surely. Some of my old live videos. So check it out. Check out my YouTube channel. Subscribe. Listen to some of the old lives. Even if you heard the whole thing, you may hear something else that you need to hear. And just enjoy. All right. So I will see you all in the morning. Don't forget to submit your prayer request for tomorrow. Okay. And tell a friend, and tell a friend, and tell a friend. Y'all have an amazing day, and I'll see y'all in the morning. Bye.